Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here with David Strong, our full-time church administrator and our part-time assistant organist, and he is going to talk a little bit about a program he's been doing to get a church administrator certification. So say hello, David.
Good morning.
All right. Tell us a little bit about the program and what you're learning and why you want to do this.
So while I have experience as a general administrator in higher education and healthcare, church administration was, for the most part, new to me. So when I became full-time church administrator, I joined a professional organization of church executives to the Church Network is what it's called. And learned after I joined about a certification program for professionals who are in church administration. So you get credits for these required courses, and then you have to do a paper. You pick a project and you do a capstone project is what it's called. And it's pretty extensive, and it's not quite a master's thesis, but in looking at the requirements, it reminded me when I was in graduate school doing my thesis. And because of the pandemic, the church network decided to offer the courses online. So I participated this past couple of years with two kind of semesters of coursework, and was joined by about 150 of my colleagues around the country.
Wow.
Taking these courses, which includes lectures, homework, and then small group discussions. And they divide us up into cohorts based on region of the country you're from. So I was with a cohort of 6 others, mainly from New Jersey and New York City and Massachusetts, in churches, all non-Methodist churches of various sizes, some larger than Asbury First and a few that were a little bit smaller.
Oh my goodness, that's exciting. I had no idea that you had that many people that you were being connected with this. That's awesome.
But I think the most rewarding thing for me, and what I found to be the most helpful is having colleagues from around the country that I can call on. We do call each other or have Zoom discussions as a small group with any number of questions. I mean, the church network has thousands of members, and so there's a very active listserv where you can just ask a question and everybody responds.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's great information to have. The church network also has kind of a library where you can go and get resources on all financial topics, HR topics, employment law, you name it.
Oh, that's great.
Been just from a lot of different perspectives, very helpful and useful.
Right. I mean, that sounds like such a great resource to have, all of those forms and the ability to ask questions from other churches that are around the same size as us, and just sort of see what they're doing. And of course, it might not fit for us, but it's good to see kind of just what other people are doing so that we can see what works for us and move forward. It's awesome.
Right, and also in this past year, certainly how are churches dealing with the pandemic?
Oh yeah.
And how are they reopening? When are they reopening? Are they reopening? It's been a great resource to have, and realizing that we are dealing with many of the common issues, right? Same issues, we may be dealing with it in different ways, but
right, because what works for another church might not work for us.
But also that we are bound somewhat by the Book of Discipline, the United Methodist Church, and the Presbyterians, for example, or Episcopalians, have a different set of rules through their denomination, and then there are the large mega independent churches that aren't beholden, if you will,
to
a denomination.
Denomination rules.
So it's been interesting to learn about all of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have there been any surprises in the courses you found? I mean, I know you have a background in administration with education and in medicine, but I know that being at a church always throws a little bit of occur on it. So what have you found that surprises you from your coursework and your certification process?
I think what has surprised me is learning about other churches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Large churches and multi-campuses to some smaller ones, as I had mentioned. I think it's to realize how, in many ways, healthy Asbury First is, and that we are in a good place. I think, particularly as a mainline church in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And the other surprise to me was how committed our church is compared to others to community outreach.
Right.
That's quite unusual.
I mean, just the different places I've lived and trying to find a church that we could belong to. Most of the time the outreach was maybe they would make sandwiches or some food for the homeless and like once a week and that was about it. So just nothing to the scale of Asbury First. The storehouse and the community garden that we just started. I mean, it's just incredible the passion of so many people wanting us to do good and help with the community. So it's amazing.
Outreach not only in our own community, that's incredibly important, but nationally and internationally.
That's right, with the Miracle Garden and Chacasente.
Exactly.
And just all of those programs that we help and support, and even the kids going on mission trips to different places. And that is very a wonderful and unique thing about Asbury First, in my opinion.
It is. And I think the other thing for me that I've learned, how healthy our pastoral team is as a team, and both the gifts that they offer as individuals. I mean, we are very lucky. Yeah, I mean, they offer such individual strong gifts themselves, but work together very well as a team. And that's
very true.
I've learned also pretty unusual.
Yeah, I can imagine that there are some personalities in the pastoral staffs that don't quite mesh. That could be, unfortunate. The
appeal to a congregation, particularly of our size, where they might have one of the pastoral staff may appeal to a group, but here it's
across the board. It's
just very healthy. It's across the board.
Yeah,
and it's a tribute to Stephen for putting together a very strong and cohesive team.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's one of his many gifts.
Yeah. Very much. Yeah, he's got lots of gifts.
Yes, he does.
So is there anything else you want to mention?
Wow. I guess right now our focus, I think the pandemic has taught us a lot of things. First of all, the importance of and the kind of power of technology when it's used in the right way. And so certainly our focus has been on improving and enhancing how we can provide live streaming and I think we've done a fairly good job at that and continue to pay attention to that because that's a very important ministry. And we used the pandemic as a time to focus on some much needed projects needed to be done with our property. And property care, and there's a long list of things that we were able to do, which we kind of reassigned the work that the property care staff did, and used as an opportunity to refocus them.
That's right. We've done a lot of cleaning projects, like painting. They took out all the stuff from storage rooms and repainted and cleaned out and really evaluated what we needed to keep and what we could get rid of. And they've just done an amazing job of updating and working on these spaces that are normally filled to the brim and aren't easily able to get that level of maintenance on them.
Well, they did, and you're right. When we're open, we are open. We're busy 7 days a week, and so it's difficult to put in to be able to allocate time to major projects, or even minor ones sometimes. So that was an opportunity that we took advantage of when the pandemic hit. I think right now our challenge is to be really thoughtful about how we regather, how we reopen.
So with all the groups and the different people that you have to interact with, I mean, you're involved in scheduling for a whole lot of things and making sure that, like the finance and the communications and the CDC guidelines are all up to date and everything. What's one of the biggest joys that you've had during your work here?
Well, I think certainly one of the biggest joys is working with the amazing people here, both the staff, the lay staff, and certainly the ministers, but also the volunteers. There's a long list of incredible people here. And that's another, going back to the question about what's unusual, really. What did I learn? For here, as I talk to colleagues in Rochester, but around the country, the level of commitment and the number of people, highly skilled and experienced people involved with all aspects of Asbury First Church is very unusual. It's phenomenal.
Right. I mean, I'm continually astonished by the commitment of our volunteers. I mean, the passion that they show, and there's even so many that don't even go to our church. I mean, there's, I know in the storehouse and in the dining and caring center particularly, we've got people that aren't members of our congregation, but they are just as committed to making sure to help others and to make our outreach successful in this community that it's amazing. I am blown away just by everybody that works at this church.
And it makes Asbury what it is, and it's why we're growing, right? And can do what we can do. So I think that one of the biggest joys is working with these very competent people and learning from them, and whether it's in the finance area, employment, legal, HR, property care. There's an expert I could go to, or experts that I could go to for help, advice, and just to say this needs to be done, and then it gets done, right?
Yeah.
And people are so willing to do it. That's a joy. I think so. And Asbury First has a history of being thoughtful and careful about what we do and when we do it. So I have to rely on that great history, and that's, in the end, I think we do the right thing and we do it the right way with that approach. And that's part of the culture, I think. But we see just tremendous opportunities.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this little chat, and I hope that you learned a lot about David and his wonderful work with keeping us on a good and straight path and making sure that we are good stewards and that we do as much as we can to be a good force for good in the community. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful week and go out there and do more good.